Oke, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kembali lagi ke latihan IELTS online bareng Uda Fikri. Kali ini kita akan latihan mock test listening teman-teman. Untuk kesekian kalinya. Yuk kita ikuti ya. Bismillah.
This recording is copyright. Test 16. In the IELTS test, you hear some recordings and you answer questions on them. You have time to read the instructions and questions and check your work. All recordings are played once only. Now look at Section 1. Section 1. You will hear a telephone conversation between the receptionist at a gym and a man who asks about a class at that gym. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. Now we begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, as the recording is not played twice. Listen carefully to the conversation and answer questions 1 to 6.
Good afternoon, Westlake Gym. How may I help you?
Oh, hi. I'd like to ask about joining a yoga class at your gym, please.
Of course. Let me just get the details up on my computer. Right, I have the information in front of me. What would you like to know?
Well, first of all, could you tell me what time the class takes place? I want to know if I can come after work.
All the yoga classes start at 7:30 in the evening and finish at 9 o'clock. Hopefully, you should be able to make it after you leave work.
Thanks. That's great. And are the classes on every day of the week?
Yes, every day at the same time, apart from Tuesday, when we use the studio for a dance class at that time. Also, sometimes Sunday's class starts a little late, but not often.
I see. Well, that suits my schedule perfectly. I must say, I've never done yoga before. Is it going to be a problem joining the class with no experience?
No, that won't be a problem. It's a beginner's class, so everyone else is new to the activity as well. You don't have to be nervous.
Well, that's good. And how much do I need to pay for the yoga classes?
Well, the whole course is £180 for 12 weeks, so that works out to £15 for each class.
OK, I see. Can I pay separately for the classes, or do I need to pay for the whole course?
We prefer customers to sign up for the course, but if you like, you could pay for just the first class to see if you like it.
Wonderful. That all sounds fine. Could I register for the first class now?
Yes, of course. I'll just input your details. Could you tell me your name, please?
Yes, it's Tim Cavendish.
And how do you spell your surname?
It's Cavendish.
Great, thank you. And what's your address, Mr. Cavendish?
I live on Slade Road, number 43. Do you need a postcode?
No, it's all right. The street name should be enough. And could I have your telephone number, please?
Sure, it's 0188 639 423.
Okay, great. That's all the information we need. I've signed you up for the first class. Do you mind if I ask how you intend to pay, Mr. Cavendish?
Is it possible to pay by cheque?
I'm afraid we only accept cash or credit card, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll bring the cash with me when I come on Wednesday.
That would be great, thank you. There will be someone at reception to take your money when you arrive.
Before the conversation continues, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen carefully and answer questions 7 to 10.
Could I ask you exactly where the yoga studio is? I've never been there before.
Yes, of course. The studio is on the same street as the rest of the gym, just next to the fitness centre.
Ah, I see. That shouldn't be too difficult to find.
No, none of our customers have got lost so far.
And is there anything special I need to bring for the class?
You don't need any special equipment, but you should come wearing some comfortable clothes. Also, most of the class members choose not to wear any shoes of any kind.
Yes, I thought as much. OK, I'll remember to pack a change of clothes in my bag then. I'm probably going to want to have a wash after the class. Are there showers nearby?
Yes, we have showers in all of the changing rooms, and we provide a towel for our customers at no extra cost. There's also a vending machine where you can buy soap and shampoo.
That's good to know. Thank you for all the information.
Before you go, could I interest you in another class that we are offering?
Maybe. What's the class?
We have an instructor from China who has come to our gym to teach a self-defense class. The class this Saturday is a trial for new customers.
I suppose it might be useful to learn how to defend myself, but unfortunately, I think I'm busy on Saturday.
All right, never mind. I've got you down for the yoga classes in the evening, and we'll see you when you come in on Wednesday.
Great. Thank you for your help.
No problem. Goodbye.
Bye.
That is the end of section 1. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
Ini masalahnya kalau gambar ya. Mudah-mudahan gambarnya nggak kayak gini di atas, gambarnya di atas terus soalnya di bawah. Ini kan susah kita, ini harus zoom in zoom out jadinya. Kalau kiri kanan mungkin enak ya, tapi nggak apa, ini bisa saya zoom in ya.
Now turn to section 2. Section 2. You will hear a hotel manager welcoming a group of guests who are attending a conference at the hotel. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good evening, all, and welcome to the Oak Ridge Hotel. Now, I know you've all traveled a long way today and will want to settle in, so I'll make this introduction as brief as possible. Right then, I'll start by telling you what we have and where you can find it. We're currently in the reception area. As you can see, apart from the main entrance doors, there are 2 doors which lead out of the reception in different directions. Let's start with the door closest to the entrance, through which you will find the dining room. Lunch and dinner are served here, but the buffet-style breakfast is served in the adjoining coffee shop, which has a separate entrance and exit to make service quicker. If you follow the east corridor from the dining room, you'll pass the toilets and courtyard on your left. Opposite the entrance to the courtyard, at right angles to the main corridor, is the exit to the tennis courts. Be careful not to confuse this with the exit at the far end of the east corridor, as that is actually a rather noisy fire exit. Just before the fire exit, on the right, is one of our function rooms, the Gunderson Room. At the back of the building, you will find our offices, and opposite them, you will find the Cooper Function Room. So, the other door from the reception leads into the west corridor. Turning left into the corridor, you will see the Swanson Room at the front of the building. Walking down this corridor in the opposite direction, you will pass the stairwell and lifts to your right, both leading to your rooms, and the games room on your left. Finally, at the far end of this corridor on the left is the fitness center. This consists of 2 identical changing rooms from which you can enter our well-equipped gym and swimming pool. The latter is at the far corner of the building. Now, Let me tell you about the first floor.
Before the conversation continues, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen carefully and answer questions 16 to 20.
Now, a bit about the hotel and the local area. The Oak Ridge Hotel was converted from a property inherited by Margaret Gunderson, a famous academic and philanthropist in Chateauville County, and it celebrated its centenary 2 summers ago. It is therefore also among Castleton's longest-running hotels. The hotel became a popular destination for company training sessions and conferences due to its central location as well as its excellent facilities. We have 3 rooms to offer for conferences and seminars. The Cooper and Swanson are similar-sized rooms, whereas the Gunderson room is quite a bit larger and comes with audio-visual equipment. As the boss will have told you, your group will be using the Gunderson room for your morning sessions and be split into 2 groups for afternoon discussions. Let me tell you a bit about the eating arrangements. Breakfast is served from 7:30 to 9 a.m. every day except weekends when it is served until 10 a.m. As I said before, it's buffet style, and it's included in the price of your stay. You can eat as much as you wish, and we have the best sausages this side of Bangor, so make the most of it. As for free time, should the boss be so kind, being situated in the center of Castleton, Oak Ridge Hotel is the perfect base for those wanting to explore Castleton's colonial heritage. An original Patriot fort has been preserved, despite a minor fire in the late 19th century. And if history isn't your thing, there's also a honey museum nearby. Though it's quite a way to the coast, if you're interested in unwinding with a bit of swimming, fishing, or sailing, the local lakes would be perfect for you. While we get plenty of visitors in the summer, as well as those using the hotel as a base for their winter skiing trips, I truly believe you have chosen the perfect time to visit, as the nearby forests with their reddening leaves are the inspiration for many local artists who want to capture the area at its most beautiful. Whatever you choose to do, enjoy your stay.
That is the end of section 2. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
Ya, agak los masih.
Now turn to section 3. Section 3. You will hear 2 students discussing a presentation they should give. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Dan.
I'm glad I'm working with you on this presentation. I was a bit confused in that lecture, and I'm not really sure what we have to do.
Yes, it was a bit confusing, but I'm sure we can work it out together.
This is the first presentation that I've done on the course, and I'm not looking forward to speaking in front of everyone.
I did some on the last module, and everyone was very supportive. Don't worry.
Okay, so where do we start? Professor Michael said we could choose any of the topics in our course book, and that's over 30. It's going to take ages to go through all of those.
No, he said we had to choose from the topic list he showed us, but that all the topics were covered in the course book. There's actually only 6 to choose from on the list.
Oh, yes, I see them here. Well, that makes the choice a little easier. How about globalization?
Yes, I think that would be the most interesting. Okay, so we have to do quite a bit of research. We can't just include the information from the course book if we want a good grade for this. Professor Michael said that he wanted a range of sources. There's a reading list in the course book, so we'll start with some books from the library, and then we'll also need to find some articles in the journals and look online.
Lots of reading then.
Yes, and then the next thing to do is to decide on a structure.
Yes, that's right. We need an overview. I know that's really important. Then, shall we talk about advantages and disadvantages?
Yes, okay. Shall I take the advantages and you take the disadvantages?
Okay, fine. What about any written information?
Well, we don't have to use visuals, but it might help.
Well, I'm quite good with computers, so I don't mind doing a PowerPoint presentation, and then we can print a copy and give it out as a handout.
Brilliant! Oh, it says here that we must give everyone a copy of our bibliography, so maybe include that in the handout.
Okay. I have some free time now if you wanted to get started on some research.
Great! We don't need too much information, though. It says here in the guidelines that we will lose marks if we talk for too long. It's only 10 minutes, so that's 5 minutes each.
Well, let's make sure we do lots of practice beforehand. Then we can make any changes and also make sure we don't go over the time limit.
Exactly!
Before the conversation continues, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 27 to 30.
Great! I feel much better now. Oh, you're also going to have to help me with the bibliography. I think I did it wrong last term. My professor wasn't very happy.
Yeah, they all say they're very important. It's easy, really. Just takes a while. It helps if you do it as you go along, so when we do the research, make a note of all the information that you need.
That's a good idea. So we need the author's name and the title of the chapter.
Oh, no, you don't need the chapter title, just the title of the book.
Oh, really? And what about page numbers?
No, not all the time. They are only important if we give direct quotes, and we won't be doing that.
Okay. Is that all?
No, you also need to give the year of publication.
Where do you find that?
On the first page, usually next to the ISBN number. Oh, and you need the publisher's name.
Got it. Why is this so important for this presentation anyway?
It's because of the assessment. We get a mark for our research, so we need to show evidence of what we've done.
Really? What else do we get marked on?
Let's see. In my last presentation, we received a mark for delivery, pace, and organisation.
Wow, that's a lot to think about.
Yeah, but it's much simpler this time. The only other area we'll be marked on is content.
Okay, so we only get 2 marks?
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, should we get going?
That is the end of section 3. You will now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4. Section 4. You will hear the start of a lecture on ways of measuring time. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 35. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 35.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'd like to speak to you about time and how people have measured it throughout history. Humans have always had a desire to keep track of time, whether it be the passing of days in a year or the hours in a day. There is evidence that the earliest civilizations created elaborate calendars which charted the changing cycles of the moon or the seasons. A famous example of this is the 5,000-year-old stone circle at Stonehenge in England, as can be seen on this slide. This ancient structure is believed to have been built by or for a group of people known as Druids, who were the priestly class of the inhabitants of the British Isles in pre-Roman times. Very little is known about these early settlers, and the only evidence experts have comes from a small number of archaeological finds. However, their astronomical and architectural skills must have been excellent, as the large stone monoliths of Stonehenge are perfectly aligned to frame the sun as it rises on the summer solstice each year. The first time that days were divided into 12 periods of daylight was by using sundials or shadow clocks. These have been found during excavations in Egypt and feature a tall stick or column which casts a shadow onto the ground. By marking the hours with numbers or symbols, observers could tell the time by seeing where the shadow pointed. Some of the sundials were made with huge stone obelisks, many meters high. Many cultures around the world developed water clocks, which were the first timekeeping devices with moving parts. Water would flow into various containers that would fill up in a fixed amount of time. However, the cold temperature of some places made the water freeze up, leaving the clocks unusable. Engineers in 11th century China solved this problem by using liquid mercury, or much later, sand. The first mechanical clock that we know of was built in the German town of Magdeburg and dates from the late 10th century. The only mention of this clock comes from written texts in much later centuries, but we know it was built by a bishop called Gerbert, who later became Pope Sylvester II. A monk in 14th century England built one of the oldest clocks still in existence, a remarkable feat of engineering. It is currently kept in the city of Salisbury, which is coincidentally only 8 miles from Stonehenge. The mechanical device had a bell which rang every hour and can still be seen by tourists visiting the cathedral today. You can see a diagram of the clock up on the slide here. Beginning in the 15th century, clockmakers channeled their energy into making clocks lighter and more accurate. This was necessary as they were used to aid navigation. Sailors needed to know the time of day to calculate their position from the angle of the sun. In 1658, the great English clockmaker, Thomas Tompion, created a prototype of the first pocket watch by fitting a small mechanism called a spiral balance into a clock, which allowed the clock to be made small and portable. One of the first 2 that he created was given to Charles II, the King of England at that time. For this invention, Tompion is credited with being the father of English clockmaking.
Before the lecture continues, you have some time to look at questions 36 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 36 to 40.
The first accurate timekeeping device to be popularly used in Europe was the long case clock, also known as the grandfather clock. These machines were usually about 2 meters tall and needed to be wound up by hand, every day or sometimes every week for more expensive models. The body was made of wood, often elaborately carved. The plinth at the bottom was solid and strong to hold the weight of the clock. The time was displayed on the main dial, which often had a decorative design. The clock featured only two hands, the hour hand and the minute hand. The second hand was not introduced until much later. Just above this was the moon dial, which was used to keep track of the phases of the lunar cycle. This was more for decoration than for actual functional use. The regular rhythm of the clock was maintained by the swinging of the pendulum, which hung down lower than the rest of the mechanism and swung at an angle of about 5 degrees. The clock was powered by a weight, with some clocks having up to 3. These heavy objects would slowly fall to the bottom of the clock, and then the owner would raise them to the top again to wind up the clock. They were suspended at the end of a long cable, the other end of which would be pulled up slowly as the weight fell. Most grandfather clocks had a glass casing to show off the mechanism inside, and would often have a beautiful carved pediment at the top. Now, as you can see in...
That is the end of section 4. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
Oke deh, 10th of century. Ini udah betul nggak?
That is the end of listening test 16.
Oke, langsung aja teman-teman ya. Banyak yang kelewatan sih. Dah, bismillah. Aduh, banyak yang salah. Stone circle salah. Calendars, aduh, padahal tadi udah nulis calendars ya. Tulisannya salah sih, calendars. Terus what was found? Sundials. Oh, sundials atau shadow clocks. Apa? 10th of century salah. Late 10th century. Oh, off-nya nggak usah. Karena tadi dia bilang ada off-nya ya. Ini betul semua, alhamdulillah. Tadi agak lost untuk kabel ya. Tapi kalau dari gambar ini sebenarnya kita udah bisa menebak jawabannya ya. Hampir lah. Tapi tadi perlu confirmation ya. Oke, ini salah 3. Ini betul. Tadi saya agak ini 1930 betul ya. 19.230 atau 7.30 juga boleh. Oke. SD. Nah, ini tadi aduh kelewatan saya. H, tadi dia bilang H deh. Coba kita dengerin ya.
You now have some time.
Ask about joining a yoga class at your gym, please.
The classes start at 8, but not often.
I see. Well, that suits my schedule perfectly. I must say, I've never done yoga before.
Pounds for 12 weeks, so that works out to £15 for each class.
Okay, I see. Can I pay separately for the classes, or do I need to pay for the whole course?
We prefer customers to sign up for the course, but if you like, you could pay for just the first class to see if you like it.
Wonderful. That all sounds fine. Could I register for the first class now?
Yes, of course. I'll just input your details. Could you tell me your name, please?
Yes, it's Tim Cavendish.
And how do you spell your surname?
It's Cavendish.
Tadi bukan bilang H tapi it's CAV. Cavendish. Padahal tadi kalau nggak ada S-nya, jadi saya kira it's itu S, padahal bukan. Oke, lanjut ya. Ini salah satu aja, alhamdulillah. Fitness betul. Tadi shoes itu saya nebak aja, padahal saya udah lost tadi kelewatannya. Towel udah betul, self defense betul. Alhamdulillah salah satu. Nah, ini tadi agak lost. Swimming pool betul ya. Tadi ini nebak aja yang swimming pool ya, yang A ini. Terus yang Swanson room salah. Oh, yang Gunderson room betul ya, yang apa ini, yang E ya. Tadi saya agak bingung karena F itu nggak mungkin room ya kan, itu kan exit door gitu. D sama F itu exit door ya kan. Nah, kalau room ya antara E sama C. Nah ini yang C salah, yang betul yang mana? Untuk Swanson room G. Oh di sini tadi nggak ini ya. Nggak apa, salah satu. Ini banyak salahnya. The building was originally used for a different purpose. Oh, conference ya. Tapi nggak apalah. Tadi kedengarannya gimana? The Oak Ridge Hotel was converted from a property inherited by Margaret Gunderson. Oh, was converted ya. Jadi diubah. Ya kebanyakan hotel rata-rata merupakan sebelumnya ya, hotel-hotel yang kuno, yang gedungnya gedung kuno itu awalnya bukan hotel gitu ya. Secara logika atau secara common sense atau common knowledge, hotel itu kalau gedung lama itu biasanya sebelumnya bukan hotel ya, kayak rumah. Kayak dulu saya pernah ke Jogja, saya nginap di sebuah hotelnya kayak kayak kalau di Islam itu pondok pesantren ya, tapi kok ada salib dan seterusnya. Ternyata itu dulu bekas sekolah pastur ya, di Jogja sana. Nah, disulap menjadi hotel. Rata-rata gitu sih ya, kalau yang gedung-gedung lama ya, hotel dengan gedung-gedung lama. Ya ini betul, jam breakfastnya jam 7.30. Tadi agak bingung karena yang ditanya kan Saturday ya. Karena setiap hari ya breakfastnya jam 7.30 gitu kan. Kayaknya ini trik aja. Dan ternyata Saturday itu hanya bilangnya gini, tutupnya itu jam 10 gitu kan. Itu tutupnya, kalau mulai sarapannya tetap jam 7.30 gitu. Terus ini salah ya, where is the hotel located? Saya kira National Park. Tadi nggak dengar. Tadi bilang apa yang tahun itu? The hotel manager says as for free time, should the boss be so kind, being situated in the center of Castleton. Oh Castleton ya, in the center of Castleton itu in a town. Oke, ini tadi saya juga lost. 1920 saya lost tadi. Yang betul adalah people come to the town throughout the year. Nih, while we get plenty of visitors in the summer, as well as those using the hotel as a base for their winter skiing trips. Oh yeah, I truly believe you have chosen the perfect time to visit. Jadi ini tempat wisata atau hotel ini. Hotel ini kan untuk mendukung pariwisata di situ ya. Dan ternyata di situ untuk ski. Jadi tempat wisata itu kan tergantung musim. Kalau musimnya musim panas itu biasanya ke pantai, ke air terjun, ke sungai, ke gunung dan seterusnya. Tapi kalau musim dingin, musim salju, ya orang perginya ke tempat ski gitu ya. Nah, ini ternyata tempat ski. Jelas yang nomor 20 salah banget ya. Karena nggak mungkin ketika summer ada orang. Nah, pasti sedikit ya, karena ya ketika summer berarti tidak ada salju atau gimana. Dan ternyata the best time to visit Castleton is in the fall. Fall itu berarti setelah summer ya, mau masuk ke winter gitu. Kalau udah winter kayaknya udah nggak bisa, karena udah dingin banget mungkin ya. Berarti tadi udah salah satu, berapa tadi? 1, ini 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Aduh, udah 6 guys. Oke, yang part 3 ini juga ada yang lost. Ternyata tadi saya udah ragu yang handout ini. Kayaknya yang betul bibliografi nggak sih? F. Coba. Ya bibliografi. Berarti udah 7. 2930 salah juga. Tadi saya konten yang yakin. Oh ternyata ISBN. 8 sudah. Tambah ini 8, 9, 10, 11. Waduh. Kayaknya berarti saya berapa ya? 6,5 nih. Oke, kita tutup. Coba kita cek teman-teman. Di history. Kita lihat nilainya sudah keluar. Ya, 6,5. Itu perlu setengah lagi untuk bisa 7. Ya. Tapi setidaknya ini sudah naik nih. Oh, yang writing nggak ada nilainya. Ya, sebelumnya yang listening itu saya 6. Ini udah naik menjadi 6,5. Yang speaking belum lagi. Insya Allah nanti speaking mock test ya. Itu dulu, sampai ketemu di konten selanjutnya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.